Representative Wilson from Florida, do you wish to offer an amendment?
Mr. Chairman, I have an amendment at the desk.
The clerk will report the amendment.
Amendment to the amendment in the nature of a substitute to H.R. 6359, offered by Ms. Wilson of Florida, identifier Wilson_AMD_04.
Does the gentleman?
I reserve point of order.
Point of order is reserved. I now recognize the gentlelady from Florida, Ms. Wilson, for 5 minutes in support of her amendment.
Students, including pregnant students, are protected under Title IX of the Education Amendments of 1972 from discrimination on the basis of sex in education programs that receive federal financial assistance. Title IX's long-standing regulations specifically prohibit discrimination based on a student's pregnancy, childbirth, false pregnancy, termination of pregnancy, or recovery from any of these conditions. Despite these broad protections, H.R. 6359 would amend the Higher Education Act to require institutions only to provide information about rights and resources to pregnant students who believe they were discriminated against because they chose to carry a pregnancy to term. The bill would also prohibit the Secretary of Education from requiring institutions of higher education to provide any additional information beyond what is listed in the bill, including fuller information related to Title IX. If H.R. 6359 becomes the law, the Secretary could not require colleges to give students information about other critical topics, such as contraception, sexual and reproductive health, on and off-campus resources for students who miscarry or decide to have an abortion, even though Title IX protects all of these students. My amendment strikes this rule of construction language so that the Secretary of Education retains the authority to require institutions to provide additional information necessary to fulfill their obligations under Title IX for all pregnant students, regardless of pregnancy outcome. While this amendment would restore the Secretary's ability to ensure students receive complete information, it also exposes the elephant in the room. The current administration is dismantling the Department of Education, shifting critical programs to agencies with less expertise and weaker civil rights missions. President Trump's administration has undermined Title IX and civil rights enforcement by hollowing out the Office for Civil Rights, which is the office responsible for enforcing civil rights protections in education programs nationwide. This Congress and this Education Committee have stood by while the administration has weakened the Department of Education and eroded critical civil rights enforcement tools. This, after all, is the Education and Workforce Committee. We have failed to ensure that the Office for Civil Rights has the staff and capacity to enforce Title IX and other civil rights laws. And more importantly, we have failed to conduct meaningful oversight as this administration works to dismantle a cabinet-level department that Congress created by statute and that only only Congress can fundamentally change. We owe our young people more than incomplete one-sided information that pushes Republicans' pro-life agenda while undermining students' reproductive rights. Adopt my amendment so that even if this bill becomes law, a future Secretary of Education, well, if there is a Department of Education, once this administration is over, can ensure that pregnant students receive information on all of their rights under Title IX, rights that can be meaningfully protected and enforced only by a restored Office for Civil Rights and a fully funded Department of Education. Students deserve no less, and we as a committee must make that happen. I urge adoption of my amendment, and I yield back.
The gentlelady's time has expired. Are there any others that wish to be recognized? The gentleman from Florida, Mr. Fine, do you wish to speak to the amendment?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I oppose this amendment, and I support the underlying bill, and I think the amendment, a lot of what we just heard, doesn't necessarily actually even relate to the bill. Pregnant students have certain rights and accommodations under Title IX, like excused absences for medical appointments, but students aren't always aware of their rights. I would hypothesize if you went to the average university in the United States, you'd have no trouble finding out plenty of information about how to get an abortion and how to get contraception. Why? Because that is the philosophy that those universities tend to propagate. It is the ability to have a child, to continue your education, to live a fulsome life. That is the problem that we are attempting to solve here. The Pregnant Student Rights Act addresses this information gap by requiring colleges and universities to inform all students of pregnant students' rights and accommodations. But what it doesn't do is limit what else they do. The lines of the bill that would simply be removed simply say nothing in this subsection shall be construed to authorize the Secretary to require the dissemination of additional information. Nothing in this subsection. There could be other subsections, there could be other statutes, there could be other laws. It simply limits what this piece of legislation does. The bill's rule of construction that this amendment seeks to remove is necessary to clarify an important point. The bill is intended to inform college students not to alter or establish additional rights beyond what already exists in Title IX. We need more babies in this world, not less. And so if this bill can help a pregnant mother understand how she can continue her education while bringing that new life into the world, that is something that we all should support. For that reason, I oppose the amendment. I support the underlying bill, and I yield back. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I thank the gentleman. Are there further debate on this amendment? The gentlelady, Ms. Hayes, do you wish to be recognized?
Yes,
You're recognized for 5 minutes.
thank you. I'd like to strike the last word and just say, as someone who was a pregnant and parenting teen, much of the rhetoric that we're hearing is just not correct. I wasn't going to speak, but I have to respond to what the gentleman before me just said. As a student, when you seek help on campus, you are not directed to abortion services. I can tell you, as someone who has had to access that information, it is how to get good health care, what options are available on campus. But this idea that the only information students get is one-sided is just false. And if we are truly to do our job, we should making it so that students get all of the information and then be able to make the informed decision that works best in their situation. The fact that they think that only one set of information is appropriate shows you the problems with this bill. For every student, carrying a child is not their best or most viable option. And if that is the pathway or the road that we want to go down, I would suggest that my colleagues revisit many of the cuts that they have proposed to SNAP and childcare and healthcare and all of the things that would help these children. As my colleague said, we need more babies. Help those babies thrive, not just survive to full term. So for that and so many other reasons, I will I will be opposing this legislation. But it really is, I mean, we come in this committee week after week and hold hearings, and it really is not aimed at getting real solutions that will really help the American people and help pregnant and parenting teens or college students or students in general just thrive and get their degrees and help to support their families. With that, I yield back.
I thank the gentlelady. Are there any further members who wish to speak on the amendment? Seeing none, I recognize myself. Just to make sure it's very clear that there is another side to the story that is being totally left out. Yes, there will be SNAP cuts, there will be Medicaid cuts, but it's in the area of waste, fraud, and abuse. In fact, it can be shown, I think, very clearly, if you want to look at the facts, that there will be more dollars for those who actually need the funding. And that's the truth of the matter. Now, I don't expect everybody to agree with that, but that ought to be pointed out as well, because too often today already we've perpetrated that point of view, which is absolutely false. And there will be care, there will be resources for pregnant students as well. So, having said that, I now, and there's been no further debate. The question is on the amendment by the gentlelady from Florida, Representative Wilson. All in favor say aye. All opposed, no. No. In the opinion of the chair, the noes have it. Are there any further amendments? A roll call vote is ordered.